The Open Boat is a renowned short story written by Stephen Crane, an accomplished American writer, poet, and journalist. It was published in 1897, inspired by Crane's personal experience of surviving a shipwreck earlier that year. Seeking to cover the escalating conflict between Cuba and Spain, Crane embarked on the Commodore as the year transitioned from 1896 to 1897. However, the ship sank, leaving Crane and several others stranded on a small lifeboat for a grueling day and a half. Prior to publishing his fictionalized account of the disaster, Crane wrote a factual article titled Stephen Crane's Own Story for the New York Press. The Open Boat stands among Crane's most analyzed works, alongside his novella about a destitute young woman titled Maggie, A Girl of the Streets, 1893, and his novel depicting a young soldier's experiences in the American Civil War, The Red Badge of Courage, 1895. The story exemplifies naturalism through its objective and often unsentimental narrative style. Major themes explored include the struggle between humanity and nature, the conflict between survival and fate as well as powerlessness, and the dynamics of community and cooperation versus alienation. This guide refers to the 1974 version of the story, included in the Washington Square Press edition of Maggie and Other Stories. The narrative begins with a small boat bobbing on the waves one afternoon. On board are 4 men, the injured captain, the oiler, the correspondent, and the cook. These individuals serve as the main characters, while the omniscient third-person narrator, who possesses extensive knowledge but is not a character in the story, reveals only the oiler's name, Billy. Having survived a shipwreck near the coast of Florida, the men are now battling to stay alive at sea. The captain tries to maintain a hopeful atmosphere, assuring the others, "We'll get ashore all right," yet the men remain uncertain. They row the dinghy, interact with a seagull, and attempt to gauge their proximity to land or potential rescue. The captain spots a lighthouse, but the cook informs him that the lighthouse has been abandoned for years. The oiler and the correspondent continue to row the small boat, following the captain's plea to conserve their energy. Land comes into view, and the cook believes they are nearing a house of refuge, but their hopes of receiving help are dashed. The captain's previously optimistic tone turns somber as he asks, "If we don't all get ashore, I suppose you fellows know where to send news of my finish?" This question prompts the narrator to contemplate the mercilessness of nature, the whims of fate, and the harrowing ordeal of drowning. Despite the intensifying waves, the men cling to the hope that someone on shore will spot them. They spot an omnibus and a person wearing a coat, followed by the realization that there are other people nearby. However, these individuals, who are at a winter resort, offer no assistance, and the men curse their peculiar and cheery demeanor. As afternoon transitions into night, the freezing waves persist in assaulting the men. Now, it is the correspondent and the oiler who take turns rowing. During his solitary rowing stint, the correspondent reflects on how he feels like the one man afloat on all the ocean, despite sharing the boat with 3 other men. Amidst the relentless and desolate night, the narrator returns to contemplations on the cruel whims of fate and the perils of drowning at sea. The narrator questions why fate has allowed the men to survive rather than swiftly ending their lives. The correspondent's mind drifts to a poem about a dying French soldier in Algiers, and the vivid recollection makes it feel as though the soldier is present on the boat with him. With no signs of rescue in sight, morning approaches. The captain suggests that they try to navigate through the surf towards the shore, reasoning that if they continue rowing, they will eventually grow too weak to save themselves. This plan prompts the correspondent to ponder the relationship between humanity and nature, describing nature as indifferent, neither evil nor intelligent, but simply apathetic. The men brace themselves to face the crashing surf, preparing to jump overboard and swim towards the shore. As they do so, a tumbling, boiling flood of white water engulfs the boat. After being battered by another wave, the men are thrown overboard. The correspondent observes the oiler swimming with strength, the cook's back visible above the water, and the injured captain desperately clutching onto the capsized boat. Instructing the cook to float on his back and use the oar, the captain calls out to the correspondent for assistance while clinging to the vessel with one hand. Fatigued and drained, the correspondent entertains thoughts of the supposed tranquility of drowning. As the correspondent steadily makes his way toward the shore, he contemplates the surreal nature of the land before him. In the midst of his methodical progress, he hears the captain's desperate pleas for help as he struggles to cling to the boat. Exhausted as he is, the correspondent muses that drowning might even be a pleasant escape. While attempting to reach the captain, an extraordinary wave propels the correspondent closer to the land. Upon reaching shallow water, he tries to stand but realizes his weakened state won't allow him to do so for more than a fleeting moment. Suddenly, a mysterious naked man, adorned with what the correspondent perceives as a halo, brings the cook safely to the shore and then heads off to assist the captain. With a generous gesture, the captain redirects the man's aid toward the correspondent. Though physically unharmed, the correspondent's heart sinks as he witnesses the lifeless body of the oiler lying face down on the sand. Soon, a swarm of people descends upon the island, providing the 3 surviving men with the necessary care and resources for recovery. It is at this moment that they feel a newfound comprehension of the sea's immense power and indifference. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did and be sure to subscribe. Thank you.